So it finally happened. It finally happened. Dylan Cease of the Chicago White Sox is no more. And if you didn't read up on the news last night, Dylan Cease got traded to the San Diego Padres in exchange for Drew Thorpe, who was a part of the Juan Soto trade initially from the Yankees. Let's see what else we have here. It was Samuel Zavala, and it was another prospect that they were asking for, or they ended up getting, I should say. Jairo Iriarte, Steven Wilson, and Samuel Zavala. And yeah, we're going to touch upon the Dylan Cease trade. We're going to see what it means for San Diego, because they ended up finding a suitable replacement for Blake Snell now, and also what this means for the White Sox in terms of the package they got back. And I would say, as of right now, just looking at it, seems like they got back a pretty nice return. So let's look at the White Sox side of things, so we can dive into the Dylan Cease stuff for the rest of the way. But you look at Drew Thorpe, like I said earlier, he was a part of the Juan Soto deal from the Yankees. Seems like he's going to be inserted into AAA going into the season, according to Fangraphs. From all accounts, he has really, really nasty stuff and just the potential to be able to be a really, really solid pitcher, especially for a White Sox team where he could probably make it into the major leagues and be one of the frontline starters for them if all goes well. And just for like a little statistic here for White Sox fans, at 30 innings, he had 44 strikeouts. He was the number 6 ranked prospect in the Padres system as well. So and that's something that's a silver lining for the Padres that maybe not a lot of people recognize, is that they didn't have to get rid of any of their top 4 guys. They ended up swapping Thorpe, and now they're bringing in Dylan Cease, who's somebody else who's going to be able to help that rotation right away. Jairo Iriarte, he's a 22-year-old, and he seems like a little bit more of a longer-term project because he has command issues. 4.5 walks per 9 last year in the minors, but also the fact that this guy has nasty strikeout stuff. And for the first half of last year in the minors, he had up to a 15.2 K per 9, which is absolutely disgusting. I'm not sure if he's going to be a starter or he may end up just finding a career as a reliever, but I think either way, he seems, as long as he can get that stuff taken care of, seems like he may be fine. But it's also a matter of if the White Sox can develop these guys properly. Now you're looking at this new Padres rotation. You have Dylan Cease, who I think is going to be their day 1 starter potentially, Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, and then you also have Michael King from the Juan Soto trade. And then they may throw in a 5th guy. I'm not entirely sure what their depth chart is looking like exactly. According to Fangraphs, maybe a mix of Johnny Brito, Matt Waldron, maybe Randy Vasquez. Right now, until they start getting some of their young prospects up, they get another young pitcher, and he's a frontline ace level caliber pitcher in Dylan Cease, who's 2 years removed from finishing runner-up in the Cy Young, 2.2 ERA. So I think going to a pitcher-friendly ballpark and a more talented team on top of that, I think Dylan Cease could be poised for a really, really good season, or kind of be able to break out once again, because the dude's only 28 years old, and I think he still has years and years of great production ahead of him. And he still has 2 years left on his contract, so he's going to be entering free agency at the age 30. Usually when pitchers hit that 30-year-old gap, they either fall off a cliff or they just remain dominant into like the next 5-6 years of their career, or even longer depending on who you are. But I really like this move for the Padres to really go out and get someone. I don't think anybody really looked at the Padres as being legitimate threats of landing Dylan Cease. A lot of people were assuming it was the Yankees, and the Yankees even sent a new offer to the White Sox. It's all but a certainty they may lose Blake Snell now. I'm not entirely sure what it is on the Blake Snell front, and I think if they somehow find a way to bring him back, really just lock down the starting rotation, but I don't think that's likely. You have Yu Darvish, who was looking old for pretty much the first time in his career, having one of those worst seasons. Joe Musgrove was hurt, and then you have Michael King, who showed really good promise as a starter last year for the Yankees. Now you bring in Dylan Cease, who seems poised, coming off a down year, to have himself a really solid season. Padres team's going to need it, especially with a lot of the pieces they lost, because this Padres team still has the ability to be good, but that NL West is looking like it's going to get tougher and tougher. Definitely like this move for the Padres. It keeps them relevant in that NL West. In that bullpen, I believe you're going to see Robert Suarez step into that closer role now that Josh Hader went to Houston. It's interesting now to see what it means for the landscape. Like, where do the Yankees go from here? Do they go after a Blake Snell? Do they offer him a new contract? Do they go after Jonah Montgomery and bring him back? With opening day just a few weeks away, getting down to the nitty gritty, to the point that we have to kind of start seeing these guys either like lock down some contract. Baseball season's really starting to get back into full swing. Just have to wait a little bit longer to kind of see everything play out. Last thought to White Sox fans, I'm sorry, because you guys should have been looking forward to competing in the AL Central if 2022 was to be believed, but now just looking at how bad 2023 was and seemingly how bad 2024 might be, at least you guys still have Luis Robert Jr. The White Sox get intriguing young pieces and a pretty much Dylan Cease replacement potentially in Drew Thorpe, and a couple other complementary pieces in Iriarte and Zavala, and bringing in Steven Wilson to be able to help with that bullpen a little bit. And the Padres get their man and be able to bolster their rotations. You look at that NL West now, you have the Dodgers, you have the Diamondbacks, you have the Giants, who just got better. Now you have the Padres once again, who kind of really were out of that conversation a little bit, but now are back into that conversation. So I would say legitimately the NL West has the potential to be probably the second toughest division to win, depending on how the Dodgers play out. But I would probably say second most competitive at least. There's going to be a lot of good games going into the season with that division, especially with the AL East as well. Dylan Cease got traded with 2 weeks left before the season kicks off. Now the big question is, for the rest of these storylines and the rest of these players still without teams or potentially getting traded, what's next?